Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from Anisha Bata Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in one beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, also we're streaming live at 3FM 927 on Facebook, on X, and also on YouTube. This evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, Investigative Committee report into Akosombo dam spillage reveals critical lapses in Ghana's disaster response system. Stay with us, we've got details for you. Plus, tense atmosphere in Bole as youth reject MCE nominee, leading to clashes with police. We're live in Bole for the very latest on this evening. Stay with us also with Ghana Cedi rated by Bloomberg as the best performing currency in the world in the month of April. We'll find out if the Cedi rise is a 9-day wonder or measures have been put in place to sustain it. Stay with us, we've got details for you here on Hot Edition. Also, the latest coming through is that Ebi Bright has been confirmed as the mayor of Tema Metropolis. Stay with us. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. All these plus the latest in business and sports over the next 1 hour 30 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Get into the details now here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's stay a bit further on the matters related to the northern region, specifically in Bole right now, because 3FM is learning of some clashes between the youth and police personnel in Bole in the Savannah region and the hometown of President John Dramani Mahama. Now, this has led to the security agencies taking over the Bole residences of the Member of Parliament for the area and also that of the President John Dramani Mahama. Now, let's cross over there to connect with our Savannah regional correspondent Christopher Mwako, who is close to the action as we speak. Chris, what's the latest to this development as we're learning in Bole?
Yes, so Alfred, I must say that the tensions earlier in Bole has resulted in the security agencies providing security at the residence of the President and the Member of Parliament for the area. As we speak, even though some relative calm has been restored in the Bole community, but we are hearing that the youth have indicated that they are going to stage another demonstration on Monday because confirmation coming in indicates that on Monday the president's nominee is likely to be confirmed.
So what's the real concern that the youth who have gone on rampage really demanding?
Okay, so they have some three concerns. The first one is that after the elections, there were indications that the Bole area, one of the minority tribes, should be considered for the position of the municipal chief executive. And so someone from the Bamboy area was nominated, but the youth have a cross-section of the youth have issues with the nominee because, one, they are saying that prior to the 2024 general elections, he did not do much work in the Bole Bamboy constituency to see to read that the NDC wins power, and so he's someone that is not popular in the area. So if he is confirmed as the MCE, he will not be accessible to the people. The second issue has to do with the fact that the Bole chieftaincy issue over the period. They are saying that the nominee has done some posted some derogatory words, comments on his social media handle against the Gonja people and the Bole Ura and so they believe that he's someone that cannot work with the traditional authorities because he does not have that respect for the traditional authorities. The other one has to do with the fact that they are saying that they want the natives of Bole community to be the MCE, because over the years, Bole has not seen the needed development, and so they want someone who understands the terrain and can influence development into the area. So these are their concerns that they have raised. Now, the stakeholders in the Bole community, including the Savannah Regional Representative of the Council of State, met with the youth, trying to, as it were, calm them down and allow the process to go through. Should the assembly members fail to confirm him, then the president will make another nomination. But that is what they don't want to understand. They are saying that they don't even want the confirmation processes to go on.
But then again, and talk about the security situation that you say that the security personnel have taken over in terms of providing security for the premises of that's the residence of the member of parliament, and then also the president's home in the area. Why was that a target in the first place?
Yes, so the youth believe that the president actually made the nominations, and so they are saying that it's someone they don't like, and so once the president is the one who made a nomination, they do not agree with the president's nomination. So his residence was a target. The second one has to do with a member of parliament, because since the incident started, the member of parliament has remained neutral. He has refuted himself from making any public commentary on that particular issue. So they say that he's not talking. They want to hear him talk. He's not talking. And so his residence has become a target. The other issue has to do with the fact that there are rumors in Bole community that the member of parliament, the one that the youth are vouching for, the youth are calling for the president to nominate, is someone that is not in good terms with the member of parliament. And so they believe that the member of parliament has a hand in the denial of their person the opportunity to be the MC, and so he's also become a target. As we speak, he's on official duties in the Upper East region, far away in Bolgatanga, and is not even aware of the fact that his residence has been under attack. Earlier, videos from Bole showed that the youth were actually marching up at the residence of the member of parliament. It took the intervention of a joint police military personnel to ensure that the property of the MP is safe.
I see. And so you say that the choice of the youth in the area is the MP is not in talking terms with their choice, and they suspect that that's why the MP they suspect influenced his rejection. Correct?
Yes, that's the information coming in from Bole. You know that the choice of the youth, the brother contested the MP in the NDC primaries that led to the 2024 election. So they believe that because of that, he does not want that is the secretary of the constituency who actually was part of the final four that went to Accra for the voting. So you could hear in one of the videos we shared when the chairman of the NDC in the Savannah region had gone to meet with the youth, you could hear the youth mention the name of the secretary of the constituency, one Juma Augustine, indicating that he's the one that they want. And that is a cross-section of the youth, Alfred. This is the youth that were chanting the name of the secretary is just a cross-section of the youth. Let me also put on record that whatever that is happening in Bole today, it's not every resident in the Bole area who supports what is going. Other people are vehemently against it and are saying that Bole is a cosmopolitan area. They are also saying that other Gonjas in other areas in the Ashanti region have been given the opportunity to be MC. Why are they denying the minority tribes in the area from becoming MC in the Bole area?
And Chris, what a better way to put it, and you understand the architecture of what is happening in the Bole area and giving us expert detail in there. Chris, appreciate you for this and the detailed analysis of what's happening in the Bole constituency as we speak. If you're just joining us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1, we're learning that some clashes between the youth, a section of the youth in Bole and the police personnel there in the Savannah region, and also that's the hometown of the president, John Dramani Mahama. This has led to some security agencies taking over the Bole residencies of the member of parliament for the area and also that of the president. What Chris has been telling us is that security personnel have been deployed to guard the official residence of the member of parliament for the area, who is also the deputy minister for lands and natural resources, Alhaji Suleimana, and then also the residence of the president, John Dramani Mahama, in Bole, because these two places were targeted by the irate youth who say they are not happy. Their choice of an MCE was not considered by the president, but someone else nominated. And so that's what has led to they taking to the street on rampage, destroying and attempting to attack the residencies of the member of parliament and the president. That's what's happening there. And Richard Kumado is a security consultant. He's been watching some of these issues quite closely. He's joining us on the telephone. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Kumado. If you recall, when the member of parliament, who is now deputy minister for lands and natural resources, had not been appointed, there was a group of young people in the area who also took to the streets, burning car tires and then also demanding that the MP be considered for a ministerial appointment. That was done. And then we are seeing a repeat of it now, because they said a section also said their choice of an MCE was not considered by the president. And so they take to the streets and vandalize property. What should be the most appropriate response in such instances?
Definitely, the police will go in for maintaining law and order, irrespective of who is leading them and who is responsible for what. And they might want to bring peace back to the area, not specifically because the president comes from there, but it's also the case that they wouldn't want what happened in the days when their member of parliament was not appointed, the rampage that took place. And so that is the first point of call, or that is the call for the police officers on the ground. And if I hear your reporter rightly, I wasn't surprised the police mobilized in their numbers to ensure that they maintain law and order at all costs. What is also important is that, Alfred, this nature of politics is becoming a bit more bloody, and it's becoming unproductive, and it's becoming too expensive. That the grassroots determines who becomes what, or political leadership marginalizes certain group of people. And politics is such a way that if care is not taken, a huge number of people can be put into brackets and disadvantaged. And a huge number of people can also be affected by all manner of imaginations and all manner of insinuations from political actors. And I think that is why this particular case has painted a picture. We need to look at it. But Alfred, are you surprised? Even in Greater Accra region, you've seen the pictures and you've seen the numbers. Yesterday at Adan, it was killed. Next week could be at Cedi. We don't know exactly what is going to happen. I'm happy to hear that there's a new bill that Parliament will be considering, that even though we are yet to vote for MCEs and DCEs, once the president nominates the person, there wouldn't be the need for them to be voted for. But I think politicians will have to take clue from this one and work it in such a way that DCEs and MCEs will have the leverage of being contested, and whoever wins will be at the service of the people.
See, and you can also not discount that sense of entitlement, that these people have, because that's the home of the president, and now the president's official residence in the area, that constituency becomes a target.
Definitely so. And that is why they want to tie the hands of the president to ensure that he listens to them. And they have become the princes and the princesses of the nation, because the president comes from there predominantly. And so when they raise the first alarm, he headed to their advice or their cry and give them a minister or a deputy minister for that matter. They are just saying that, Daddy, you've done something for us. Come on, listen to us again. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. But this is the confusion we have, where the grassroots want to determine what happens, and political leadership will also want to determine otherwise. And sometimes lack of public education or explaining the issues to the people leads to some level of vacuum. And once there's vacuum created, all manner of misleading information and disinformation could trigger some of these reactions we are seeing. We need to tread cautiously, look at this whole issue about who become a DCE, how they are appointed, how they are selected, and we need to curb it. Other than that, even in Greater Accra alone, sir, the troubles we are seeing is too much for us as a nation, and that is an area the police will need to keep an eye, and the president must take an eye seriously. I have asked a question. This whole issue falls under the Ministry for Local Government. Why is the local government minister not getting involved in making sure that some of these people are, voted for and nominated? And it's always the case for MPs and, the regional ministers and all that. That is another area of politics that people have serious, negativities about. And that they can also look at it again.
Mr. Commodore, appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much for joining
Alfred.
us. Richard Commodore is a security consultant joining us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kiss Me 107.1. We're live on W93.5 in Y and Beyond. Talk about MCEs and mayors. The news coming through is that Ghanaian actress turned politician, 2024 NDC parliamentary candidate for Tema Central, Ebi Bright, has just been confirmed as a Metropolitan Chief Executive of the Tema Metropolitan Assembly. She was endorsed by the Assembly members with 28 votes in her favor and 3 against her. Her nomination generated mixed reactions amongst residents, with some expressing concern about her appointment. But at her swearing-in ceremony that's today by the Greater Accra Regional Minister Ebi Bright, now the first female mayor of Tema, pledged her commitment to advancing the president's 24-hour economy initiative, and that is what is coming through right now. So Ebi Bright has just been sworn in as the first female mayor of Tema as we speak, and Stanley Bleu is there for us, so he's going to be joining us shortly with some more details on this one and how things are playing out in the Tema Metropolis. But before we get into that, a 5-member investigative committee appointed by President John Dramani Mahama has submitted its comprehensive report on the 2023 Akosombo Dam spillage, outlining critical recommendations to enhance disaster response and provide relief to affected communities. The committee, which presented its findings on Wednesday, May 7, 2025, identified systemic gaps in flood mitigation and called for policy reforms to prevent future crises. The Volta River Authority initiated controlled spillage from the Akosombo and Gong dams between September 15 and October 30, 2023, due to rising water levels that threatened the dam's structural integrity. The spillage caused widespread flooding, displacing communities along the Volta River. An estimated 26,000 to 35,867 people were displaced, losing homes, belongings, and livelihoods. The most affected areas include Mepe, Bator, Sogakope, Mapfe, Adedome, and Adam. Now, President Mahama, upon his re-election, constituted a committee to investigate the disaster. During a national address to mark 120 days in office, President Mahama indicated compensation will be paid to the victims of the spillage.
We promise to initiate a probe into the VRA Akosombo Bond Dam spillage to address the man-made disaster caused by the VRA spillage and prevent future occurrences. We promise to initiate a probe and take steps to compensate the victims. So this administration set up a committee chaired by Engineer Kofi, a former VRA chief executive. The committee has recommended strategies to prevent future occurrences, including establishing what is called a controlled spill flood plan and implementing downstream engineering solutions for flood management. I've directed that the recommendations be implemented immediately. I further indicated that if they are not properly implemented and another destructive VRA flooding occurs like in 2023, the VRA CEO and deputies must resign or be sacked.
That's the president there. Now, the government is expected to release a detailed action plan based on the committee's findings, focusing on preventive policies and victim support. Let's get into a bit more of this. And Dennis Paberi Wadam Esquire is with me in the studio. He's been studying the details of this report. Dennis, what do we know?
Well, Alfred, so this is a 5-member committee that was inaugurated on the 13th of March. 2 months to do its work. And I mean, typically the deadline for the submission of this report was supposed to be May 12th. It's interesting to know that they've submitted their report ahead of time. Yes, and it's very comprehensive. We're talking about a 126-page report, which spans across all the things that have happened in that very unfortunate incident that we here at Media General covered extensively, because it was heartbreaking, even going to the extent of mobilizing funds to support people who were displaced from their homes, support schools that were also displaced, and all that went into it. But all in all, yes, they were given certain terms of reference, which included to examine the events leading to the spillage of the dams, and that is Akosombo Dam and the Pong Dam, to assess the action taken in response to the situation. 3, to identify the challenges encountered during the process. 4, to evaluate strategies employed to address the impact of the spillage. 5, to propose additional measures to enhance future outcomes. And 6, to propose a compensation package for affected victims and communities. And this is very important because when you pay attention to the NDC even before they got into power, this compensation and investigation of this matter were parts of the things that the government said they were going to do in the first 120 days. So when you look at the Mahama 120-day social contract with Ghanaians, it's included in that is the fact that they were going to put together a committee that will look into this matter and also take steps to compensate all those who have been affected. So that's how come you find that as part of the terms of the reference of the committee, Alfred. Now, the committee hit the ground running on the inauguration on March 13. They conducted site visits, going to the dams, engaging community leaders, and also conducting interviews with key stakeholders, including those who manage the dams and all the technical experts and engineers, all those within the operational area. They were all involved in this particular thing. The committee said they held meetings specifically with the following: the Minister of Energy and Green Transition, the Member of Parliament, and the former Volta Regional Minister. They also had meetings with the current and the former Chief Executive Officer of the VRA, the VRA technical team, both of the Akosombo Dam, Akose Power Plants, chiefs, opinion leaders, and the persons who have been affected. And all of that you can find in the report. Alfred, the findings of this committee, as have been summarized, include: 1, that the factors that determine water spillage from the dam include the reservoir elevation, rainfall, and energy output from the power plants. This is to indicate that a mix of factors determine whether or not a dam should be spilled. 2, that the Akosombo Dam recorded a maximum water inflow of 477,984 cubic feet per second on September 18, 2023 at the Akosombo hydrometric station. And that historically, exercises have shown that in 1968, the volume was 5 times the volume spilled in 2023. So the figure that I mentioned a while ago, which is 477,984 cubic feet per second, that in 1968, the volume of water that was spilled was 5 times more than that number, that figure.
I see.
Indicating that there could be larger volumes of water spill in the future due to climate change uncertainties. And that is to establish the point that what we had seen to be devastating with that amount of water, it can actually be more. Because in 1968, it was 5 times more than figure.
I see.
So they also indicated by way of findings that the examination of events leading to the spillage, the spillage was primarily caused by releasing approximately 800 MAF volume of water from that's
million acre feet.
Million acre feet volumes of water from the Akosombo Dam to prevent the dam's destruction overtopping due to high reservoir water levels. Other contributing factors included unprecedented rainfall due to climate change, and human activities exacerbating flood risk. Breaching the dam could have resulted in a catastrophic chain of events in the country.
Right.
Findings number 6 is the fact that VRA's emergency preparedness plan specifies the rules and the responsibilities of all stakeholders, including the VRA, NADMO, district assemblies, security agencies, etc., when an emergency occurs. The emergency preparedness plan, that's the EPP, was used to manage the disaster caused by the spillage and was the most technical document to be understood by various non-technical stakeholders. While VRA had socialized the document with all stakeholders and conducted a simulation exercise for some selected communities before the spill, high turnout and divisions among some district chief executives, metropolitan chief executives, and members of parliament could have derailed clear communication lines for implementing the plan and distribution of the relief. This, in summary, means that yes, there are clear guidelines as to how to deal with this, but because there were some disagreements as to amongst DCEs and other opinion leaders, it was difficult to implement this to the letter. They also found out that the response involved various government agencies, including the Volta River Authority and the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, that while there were efforts to provide immediate assistance, gaps in communication, resource allocation, and community engagement were identified. They continue by saying that the committee noted operational challenges such as a lack of local disaster preparedness plans and inadequate evacuation resources that hampered the emergency response process, communication breakdowns and skepticism among community members regarding the information provided by authorities further complicated response efforts. There's also the issues that relate to community challenges, and that the committee also noted that the land tenure attachment by the people, economic reliance on location, fear of unpredictability, insufficient financial resources, and support from authorities restricted housing options. Historical precedent of spillage and cultural resistance were factors that made most affected people unwilling to relocate during the spill events.
Right.
There's also the point they make about temporal accommodation, and that the committee noted with concern that some affected persons were still housed in tents at the mercy of the weather, refusing to relocate to temporary accommodation built by VRA. They cited a lack of privacy as families were required to share rooms. This was a disaster.
Indeed. And it's a very important point you make. And Dennis, I'm going to hold you on to that a bit because our guests would have to just go into a quick meeting from what we're hearing. Engineer Akrofi, thankfully, is joining us on the telephone.
Right.
He's the chair of this 5-member investigative committee. I thank you so much, Engineer Akrofi, for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you for having me.
Now, hearing that this spillage, which lasted 46 days, discharging approximately 8 million acre-feet of water, is actually lesser than the historical data, which shows that somewhere in 1968, the spill was 5 times larger. What should we be thinking about doing now? I mean, to ensure that if this has to happen again, we would have learned the right lessons and put the right measures in place for the years ahead of us.
This is an excellent question. Let me thank you again for going through the executive summary of the report and especially the findings. Now, let me just start by thanking the President, Excellency Mahama, for giving us this assignment through the Ministry of Energy, because the answer to your question will see the vision in what that man was saying, that this thing should be done at this stage. Because for a dam, it has 3 main things. The dam is used to for flood control, power generation, irrigation, and potable water usage. And when you dam a river or whatever it is, the inflow comes mainly from rainfalls, and the rainfall from all on the dam itself or for the tributaries. So that when you get an inflow and you don't take out all, then the level keeps on going up. And there's a level to which the level can go to In the case of Akosombo, it can only go up to 276. We have a surcharge where it can go to at most 278. Okay, and that's what it is. Anything above that, you put the dam at risk. And when the dam collapses or you breach the dam, then everything downstream of that dam would vanish, would go with it. So your number one protection is the dam. So when you get inflow far more than you can contain, and that's why you have the spillway gates, which have been designed to take out the maximum that can come in based on historical data. So in the case of this, having recorded that level in 68, when we feel 66, 67, 68, 68 was the maximum. And that was 5 times more than what we spilled. In 2023, we did the volume, total volume, quantity of water spilled was 8 MEF. 68 was about 42 or 43 MEF. So that's how come you get it about the 5 times. Okay? Even 69 spillage, we spilled 69, we spilled in 70, 71, 72, and then 74. Then after that, we never spilled till 1991. From 1991, we spilled again in 2010. 2010 to 2023. I'm just giving this in to have an idea of how the lake operates in a way.
Indeed.
The water lake, even though it's big, you get inflow at some times, and then you use the water, then get finished, and then go through a cycle like we've been experiencing. And I'm sure you've been in Ghana where we went to the minimum level of 230, below 235 in 2007.
Yes, indeed.
And within 3 years, it rained, the rainfall was so that we were able to go from the minimum in 2007 to the maximum in 2010. And we still in 2010.
Yeah.
Now, 2010 we failed. Then we went to another cycle where by 2017 we went close to the minimum again. We went to the minimum again, 235 in 2017. So from 2017 to 2023, inflow came again and went up to the maximum of where we have to spill in 2023. Even though we have been taking close to the maximum we can take from the lake in terms of power generation.
Right.
So as the dam is, if you don't take enough, you break the dam and then everything goes. So as a result of what we've done and based on the findings you found out, what you can do to prevent, having recorded some level of spillage in 1968, seeing a little bit more, a little bit less in 2023. And with all this climate change we keep on seeing everywhere, it tells us to start planning that one day we could hit that big mark. So that what we do now, our recommendation is to plan for a flood zone downstream of Akosombo, where if we have to spill the maximum volume we can spill, which we call 1 in 50-year volumes, which should be about 37% more than what we spilled in 2023. We are prepared and we should be able to do that. So that's our recommendation. There will be a flood zone which will be dedicated where we don't expect anybody to stay there or have any permanent structure there. You will go farm there and leave or go fish there and leave, but a non-permanent structure should be built there. And by the EPP, all these areas will be done. Luckily, VRA, after this incident, have also done some work. So there's an app where if they tell you X amount is going to be spilled, you can, at every location, a WhatsApp application should be there where people can see where the water can go and where it cannot go. So we are planning for the 1 in 50 years spillage for the short to medium term. And for the long term, we are planning for 1 in 100 years.
Right.
Which will be about a bit more, about twice or 1.5 times the one in the 50 years. So we're planning for this for the future.
Okay.
So that should it happen, we should be in a position because your number one protection is the dam.
Precisely. And you don't want to breach.
This is what, if for anything at all, this report has identified this, and we have to make sure that we have the flood zones well protected. We need an airline for downstream, an airline to be prepared so that the district assemblies, whoever has to do these things, have the mandate and they can do it properly.
You see, I was coming to that because the ultimate objective, you say, is not to breach the integrity of the dam, and then you reference the emergency preparedness plan as for you what should outline what the way forward will be like. But then again, this VRS EPP outlines stakeholder roles, but there were challenges because of the poor coordination amongst the DCs, MPs, and local leaders. So how should that be addressed?
Well, we noticed that, and that's something that we have also given guidelines where it has to be addressed in our report, where there's been more and frequent coordination. The document that has come out, the visa-friendly EPP, the EPP should be discussed more frequently. There should be more drills. There was a drill in May 2023, and then the spill came. We would have just been wondering what would have happened if there was no drill. Previous, all the drills or something were just on next stop. But this one was actual drill involving everybody. And probably that's how they were able to handle this challenge in 2023 without any casualty. So, having identified these things, DRA, together with all the stakeholders, will make sure, and I'm just through the ministry, make sure that there's proper collaboration among all the stakeholders to make sure that they understand what has to be done and is done properly. Because the district assemblies have a role. They also have to have their own disaster management teams, well educated and understanding what to do. And at any time, and they should be in direct contact with VRA as to when any water is beyond the normal operation is coming downstream, which will have an impact, and the role they have to play. So they have to be educated properly, well resourced as well, and almost all the stakeholders. Now, areas that will be impacted, of course, will be marked out properly. We know some areas, the bridge is there, and the substations, hospitals. All these things are more being lined out properly so that areas that will be impacted would be properly taken care of. Now, in the case of the recent, what we noticed was that if you go to a place like Mepi, a lot of the areas which are flooded were not very close to the river banks. Okay? Because they are which go through the town. These are like rivers or streams through the town. So because the water level went up, the water went backwards into this area, and that's how kind of flood came into those areas inside the town. So that a place 1 kilometer from the township, from the river, got flooded. So these are areas that we think an engineering solution can be provided. So that in future, there could be gates, there could be dikes and gates. So whenever there's any flooding, those gates are shut, and then no water can flow backwards into the township. So there will be some engineering solution, which I believe VRA should be thinking of right now, that can be put in place.
And maybe finally, before I let you go, on the matter of the community resistance to relocation as well, because as you indicated already, there's been some damage. The thousands who have been displaced and those who are still in tents. But then if you would have to go back to, as it were, ensure that the persons within the catchment area have to relocate, what has to be done differently to get them to appreciate, understand, and relocate?
I think there's a saying which says, once bitten, twice shy. I've been saying it because over the years, as I said, the spillage over the years, besides 1968, has not been to even this magnitude. After 1968, which was high. 2010 was not that much. 1991 was not that much. So people living in some of these areas have never witnessed the level of inundation or flooding like they did in 2023. So right now they are prepared and they will be prepared. But of course, if government comes in and you are being relocated, I think going around, we didn't have the thing that they would not. It's come to understand that, of course, they have to. They can go back to some of these areas and fish, okay, because they know during time that they could go there and fish. But not to put down any, how do you call it?
Right. Structures.
Structure. Or you can go and farm, and then you know the season when you can farm and the season of the flood. But you know, let me conclude by also saying that, you see, the dam itself has also provided some sort of comfort to the people downstream, because flooding downstream has been perennial, which has been very frequent in the very past when the dam was not there. But now that the dam is there, that is controlled. because the water which would have flooded, because this big water comes from all over and it comes to enter the sea. So as it gets into the sea, with whatever water comes every year, the place gets flooded because it's a bit flat. But now that we have the dam, the Akosombo and Pond Dam, it protects downstream from flooding. So these are some of the positive benefits of the dam. But of course, their livelihood, talking about their compensation, for instance, they think that they should have also been compensated when Akosombo was built because their livelihood was impacted in a way because what they used to do or the sort of fishing they were doing before the dam was created, after the dam, they couldn't do that. I sort of agree with them. So we also recommended that, well, some level of that should be considered. And they've had the thinking that they should have been compensated ever since Akosombo was built, way back in the 60s. So that has been the back of their mind. And that's why they think for now, they have to be taken care of, which we also agree with them.
And I do appreciate your thoughts on this.
Yes. And then people upstream, some areas, T region, up north, Savannah and Volta region, well, part of the Volta region, were also flooded. But then these people living in the areas within the 280 contours where they are not supposed to. But I've got VR's inability to enforce together with the MCEs and the various stakeholders that people don't live within those areas. I've also resulted in that. So if we cannot enforce and people are living there and they have been flooded, well, I think they also need some level of compensation. And then now going forward, some physical structure should be put there. And I know VRA said they are going to put bamboo to demarcate the 280 shoreline so that nobody lives below that.
Okay.
So I think with all these assets upstream, planting of mangroves downstream at the flood zones, this will help so that should there be any flood in the future of a magnitude more than what we've seen in 2023, we should be able to spill and handle it.
Right.
And as I said, spillage is very important to safeguard the dam.
Indeed. And I do appreciate your thoughts on this. And I think good work done is in order because you even submitted this report before the deadline of May 12. Congratulations to you and the team.
Thank you very much. And I think it's good we have to thank my team because we have to work day and night and make sure we finish on time. Because you may never know, we are already in April. Nobody knows what's going to happen this year.
Indeed.
So whatever recommendation, we have to start working on them quickly.
Indeed. And thank you.
April, May, we are in May.
We are in May,
June,
yes.
July, rainfall is going to start again. And of course, if we are able to come out with recommendations and we start looking at them seriously, we never be caught with our pants down.
Certainly. Thank you so much for your time, sir. And I wish you well.
You are very welcome. Thank you very much.
Engineer Akrofi is chairman of the 5-member investigative committee into this Akosombo Dam spillage. And Dennis, let's round up with the last few recommendations in that committee report.
Well, so by way of recommendations, the committee says that there should be a national resettlement and disaster plan fund. And that's the committee says that establishing such a permanent fund will support displaced persons and reconstruction efforts. They also recommend an improved early warning system, and that's, they say, would upgrade technical forecasting tools and also ensure clear public communication. They are also recommending mandatory disaster drills, and that's regular community-based drills that will ensure preparedness. This committee is also recommending legislative reforms by way of amending the NADMO Act to enhance disaster response powers and also to enact laws to comply with key agencies that include the VRA to act proactively. They are also recommending that a permanent resettlement plan be put in place so as to move beyond temporary shelters to plan communities with infrastructure. And then also they have a recommendation on environmental safeguards, which they say is to review and upgrade dam operation protocols to minimize future spill impact. So that's just a summary of what they've been saying by way of recommendations, Alfred.
Good stuff, Dennis. Thank you so much. There's more of this on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on KSME 107.1 and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. The naming of the Ghana Cedi by Bloomberg as the world's best performing currency for the month of April appears to have given the business community some confidence. The Cedi this month appreciated nearly 16% against the dollar. since the start of April 2025, per Bloomberg's own analysis, the currency's rally has helped ease inflationary pressures, contributing to Ghana's lowest inflation rate in 8 months. Consumer price inflation fell to 21.2% in April, down from 22.4% in March. Government Secretary Al-Hassan Idris announced in Accra yesterday. Monthly price increases slowed to 0.8%, driven largely by falling import costs due to the city's strength. Now, Bloomberg data showed that since the beginning of April, the city has outpaced all global currencies in terms of gains against the dollar, bolstering consumer confidence and easing pressure on the cost of imported goods. Despite this progress, analysts say it's unlikely the Bank of Ghana will rush to lower interest rates. I'm talking about the policy rate at its upcoming policy meeting. Well, we'll get into it and then find out sustainability measures of it, a question about sustainability as well. But let's get an understanding of this shortly. And Wisdom Safo is with our research team, is joining me in the studio. Wisdom, let's get into the trajectory of the city's rise over the period. How has it been from January to now?
Yeah, okay. So, Alfred, currently today, I went to 3 places. I went to the Forex Bureau, I went to 2 banks, and at the bank, they are actually selling the US dollar to the cedi at the rate of 12.6 Ghana cedis. So 1 US dollar is 12.6 cedis at the banks. And at the Forex Bureau, it ranges between 12 cedis to 12.5 Ghana cedis. But at the BOG website, they're actually trading it at 13.1 Ghana cedis. But how did we get here? Alfred, we started this year around somewhere 15.52 Ghana cedis to the dollar. And it has declined. And by April 1st, it was trading at 15.36. But currently, at the BOG rate, we are having something around 13.01. Now, the research desk actually tried to have some introspection into the causes of this hike. And we attributed this to 4 major factors. Now, the first factor that we identified was that the BOG actually injected $490 million into the forex market in 2025 of this year, and they are actually having some tight liquidity measures, including rejecting some amount of borrowing from the treasury bills market, as well as an increased gold export. Alfred, actually, in between January and April of this year, 2025, we have exported a gold amounting to $2.7 billion. And this is an inflow. You know, the exchange rate market works on the basis of demand and supply. So anything that tends to demand your cedi seems to increase the value of the cedi. And anything that tends to shun your cedi or increase the demand for the dollar tend to increase the value of the dollar as well. So an inflow of about $2.7 billion is good for the cedi. And in the same period, 2023, we actually had some inflow of 670.5 million. So this is a very huge increase. We can't attribute that to the gold board now. But Alfred, we also looked at the exchange rate. That the exchange rate or the policy rate that you rightly mentioned, that the policy rate also has some effect on the exchange rate as well, because it signals to investors. It's a signal that if the government is having some form of control over how it borrows, or the rate at which it borrows, it's kind of increase or boost investor confidence. And it kind of signals to other people that, look, I'm a country that is responsible about borrowing. And if people come and invest in my country, they'll actually reap returns. So these are the things and the details that we actually gathered. And finally, we can't exclude the US-China situation. And especially the US, you all remember, slapped a lot of taxes on countries around the globe. And, you know, they didn't factor the taste and preference of the US citizens. So though they have increased taxes for foreign countries, they are still importing and having high import deficits. So meaning the US economy is actually demanding more of foreign currencies. And because they are demanding more of foreign currencies, they tend to put pressure on their own domestic currency. Right. So US dollar is also shaking generally on the international market. And finally, we have to talk about our Ghana gold reserves, the gold reserves that we have as a country. Alfred, our gold reserve within a span of 5 years, or between 2022 and 2025, it has increased by 20 tons, and that is a very huge increase. I'm not to say that we have a gold standard where we back our currency with gold, but to solve liquidity challenges, the gold reserve serves as a basis or a backbone for any economy. So now our gold reserve stands currently at 30.8 tons.
Right.
So it's all part of the reasons why we see our cedi appreciating.
Thank you so much, Wisdom, running through all those factors and rightly so captured in this particular detail. But let's have a conversation on this. The finance minister is saying that this is not going to be a 9-day wonder. But then again, do we have the right structures internally to support this growth in the city? And this is why I bring in Dr. George Domfe. He is an economist and a lecturer at the University of Ghana. And Dr. Domfe, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, my brother.
Good to have you. Unfortunately, we lost Professor John Gachi, who is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. He will be joining us shortly as well. Dr. George Domfe, good times for the city because of the combination of the internal and external factors as outlined, is it not?
Yes, I was listening to the person who you just interviewed, and I think I agree with him to some extent on some of the issues that he raised. Indeed, Ghana, our exchange rate regime is what we describe it as a managed floating exchange rate regime. And any country that practices this exchange rate regime, the strength of the local currency is determined by the availability of the foreign currencies vis-a-vis the demand for the foreign currency. And so the demand and supply of the foreign currencies usually will determine the value of the local currency. In a situation where we don't have enough foreign currencies and people and the demand is higher, then your local currency depreciates. When it happens like that, Bank of Ghana, under the managed floating exchange rate system, would periodically intervene in the market to supply. And when they supply, more foreign currencies will become available on the secondary reserve market. And when that happens, your local currency then gains value. Indeed, that is what has been the picture. If you look at Ghanaian economy, especially in the year 2022, when we started the year, we had 9.9 billion reserves with Bank of Ghana. And those were the days the global economic turmoil started. And when it started, the demand for dollar increased. It increased because Ghana, we are an import-dependent economy. We import the crude oil that we consume. We consume about 135,000 barrels of crude oil, refined oil every day, and we import. We import quite a number of things. And so if you import most of what you consume to this country, and Ghana is a small open market economy, and our local currency is not used anywhere, then it becomes important that you always need foreign currencies to to trade with the rest of the world. And indeed, when prices went up in U.S., Germany, and other places where we've been importing, it affected the demand for the foreign currency, because hitherto, if somebody needed $1 to import a particular good, today the person is because prices have gone up on the global market, you will need $2 to import the same quantity of goods, for which reason you will need more dollars. So even though at the beginning of the year, Bank of Ghana had 9.9 billion, by August, we had almost run out of our reserves. Then so from January to August, cedi depreciated from $1 to 6 cedis 20 pesos to 8 cedis 20 pesos. Right, and when between August and October, we didn't have enough, Bank of Ghana didn't have the strength to come to the market to intervene. We saw what happened. By October, $1 was going for 17 cedis.
Yes,
and so that is
almost
the
17
picture
cedis, but
of our regime.
Indeed.
If Bank of Ghana doesn't have the strength to supply, and there is pressure on the cedi, in fact, it depreciates very fast. And last year, during the last quarter of the year, cedi was not doing well at all. We saw at a point $1 was going for 17 cedis. But immediately Bank of Ghana intervened and started supplying. Indeed, Bank of Ghana says that during the last half of the year, they supplied $2.8 billion US, for which reason Cedi gained value. And so even in January, we saw $1 going for 14 cedis, 53 pesos, on average. And so that has been a picture. And so those who are saying the internal, the domestic forces are also helping with the stability of the Cedi, I agree with them. Anything that brings dollar into this country helps to stabilize, the Cedi. Anything that can bring $1 to this country has a way of helping to stabilize the Cedi. And so a lot of factors. One thing that the commentator talked about that I agree with him is the reserves that we have. You cannot give what you don't have. So for Bank of Ghana to be able to intervene in the market to protect the value of the Cedi, they must have gross international reserves. And at the beginning of the year, we had about $9 billion US that translated into 4-month import cover. And so that placed Bank of Ghana in a very good mood to supply. And today it has even gone up because the gold reserve, let me say that Ghana from 1957 all the way to May 2003, our total gold reserve was 8.78 tons. So as a country, we haven't done enough to keep more gold. U.S. currency is so strong because they have thousands of tons of gold. But Ghana, no, we had only 8.78 tons of gold. But since June 2023, Bank of Ghana started buying gold with Cedi, with the local currency.
So fact is,
that process has helped the bank.
Yes.
So since June 2023,
Dr. Donfe, fact is that the Cedi is stronger today. I think you've just touched on it. But then again, let's underscore the fact that the Cedi is stronger today, from what you say, not primarily because of our gold reserves, but the exchange rate is more stable because the Cedi appreciating today is because of the significant surge in dollar inflows on the back of the unprecedented gold exports that we are seeing now.
No, I didn't say that. I want to say that all those factors, theoretically, all those factors can help Cedi to be stronger. So the surge in gold export really is bringing in dollar. So it can have positive impact on the Cedi. And I'm also talking about the reserves, that now that the reserves is very high, you know what it does? When your reserves goes beyond 4-month import cover, at the beginning of the year, our reserves hovered around 4-month import cover. And today it is even higher because the gold reserve have gone to 31. At the end of the year, we were having 30 tons of gold. Today, at the end of April, we have 31 tons of gold. Now, when you have more reserves, Alfred, it does one thing. We have particular group of economic agents. We call them speculators. Always they observe what Bank of Ghana has. If in their books they see that Bank of Ghana does not have enough strength to protect the Cedi, then they are able to predict that in no time Cedi is going to depreciate. For which reason they would go to the market and buy more dollars. And then later when Cedi depreciates, they will then sell and make more profit. We call them speculators. And so when we talk about demand for money, including dollar, we have 3 motives for demand for dollar. One is what? Speculative motive. Indeed. The speculative motive, the people don't go to market when they see Bank of Ghana has become very strong. And so anytime Bank of Ghana builds that reserves, it provides that buffer, and it provides that signals that we are ready to fight for the Cedi. And so those who want to attack the Cedi will then run away for the Cedi to have a space. And so if you look at it from that perspective, Bank of Ghana's reserves, either they supply, when they supply as they did at the third quarter of last year, they did so, and the Cedi became very strong.
Right.
When they intervene directly into the market, it helps your local currency to be stronger. But even when they have not intervened, and for the mere fact that they have so much there, will deter the speculators away from getting into the market.
In my market. I appreciate you for this. And it's a very important point that you make. And this is why I bring in Dr. Joseph for being is the president of the Ghana Union of Trade Association, GUTA. Dr. Bing, good times for you traders at least, because clearly when the city is depreciating, it impacts on you negatively. The appreciation must be putting some smiles on your face, is it not?
Yeah, it is a great relief and respite for business people. And so it is very welcome, and that's why we are all very excited and we are very happy. At least we are able to recoup some of the losses over the years. And it's not only that we are recouping the losses for ourselves, but we have the obligation to also share the gains to our consumers. Because the business that we do not do it in isolation. If our consumers or our customers are hard up in terms of prices and all that, they are unable to buy as much as they could. And business thrives on turnover. So we have to relieve them of these high prices so that they can also help us to increase our turnover. Business thrives on turnover. Because if you are able to service your debt, it means that you have to be able to turn your stocks to be able to go and pay the debt that you pay. So this thing is going to be multifaceted. It's going to help us also to reduce our indebtedness to the banks. We are saving at the port, but when you go and clear, the dollar is used as a benchmark for clearance. So once the price has, the dollar has come down, it means that we are going to have some savings with regards to our duties. At the same time, we are also saving with the exchange itself. Let's say, for instance, the dollar was 16, and then you have to go and fund 1.6 million to buy $100,000. Now you are going to fund 1,350,000 to buy same value of 100,000, making a save of about 250,000. It will help you to up your capital, and at the same time you have some room to pass it on to your consumer, who then his purchase power will go up for him to buy more, for you to be able to do your business. So it's very good. It is also bringing positive speculation. Positive speculation will then going to do away with the people saving dollar as a store of value. And so in every angle, this thing is going to help us. It's going to help us to be very competitive, because we also do business in competition with our neighboring countries. You will realize that we normally go to Togo, Nigeria to buy goods. If the dollar comes down, our prices come down, it means that the reverse is going to take place for us to enhance on our businesses.
And I do appreciate your thoughts on this. So all things being equal, consumers listening to you right now should expect some reduction in prices of goods and services. All things being equal.
Definitely, because you see, normally they say that when the Cedi gains strength, we do not reduce prices. That is not true. If there's a clear predictability, and then you know that the reduction is significant as the one we are seeing, because it's obvious that this reduction is very, very significant, that you may not have any option than to reduce the prices. You see, the market that we have here is not a monopolistic one. It's a highly competitive one. You see the same commodity being sold by thousands of traders. It means that there's a competition here, and that everybody will want to price, or you do not even want to overprice yourself out of the market. And so definitely when you have some gains in terms of calculating your costs and all that, and the exchange rate is a very significant component of price calculation, then of course we are going to see some significant changes in the prices positively.
I appreciate your time on this. And my colleague Bismarck was just asking about timelines, when we should expect this reduction in the price of goods and services.
Okay, so if you really understand what is happening in the market, we have the importers who import and who normally trade in this forest. And so when the goods come, we sell to the retailers. And unfortunately, the retailers are normal the importers, because there are many. So we supply to them and for them to sell. So they are at disadvantage. At the moment, when we are talking about the reduction of the forex and all that, forest rates and all that, they are not bearing it directly. Means that they have already bought some of the goods. And then, but what I normally advise them is to strike a reasonable average so that you do not overprice your items, because others are going to have it cheaper. Those who did not have the goods are going to buy at a cheaper price, and those who bought it at a higher can't wait. If you wait, it means that you cannot sell your goods and also service your debt. People do not look at that angle at the bank.
Right.
And so you strike a reasonable average, be able to sell or float some of the goods, and then partake in the new cake of the price reduction that will be handed over to you.
Doc, I do appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Joseph Obeng is president of the Ghana Union Trade Association, GUTA there. Right after this, Bismarck Ewusa standing by with the business news. Stay with us.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bill's Microcredit is here to support.
Frequency 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ewusa. Coming up tonight, economist warns against excessive importation of finished goods as the city strengthens, urging increased machinery imports.
The cedi has been ranked the world's best performing currency.
Thanks for your company. Now to the detail. A senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Dr. Eric Boakye-Adom, has cautioned against increased importation of finished goods as the Ghanaian cedi strengthens against the US dollar. Instead, he suggests leveraging the cedi's strength to import machinery that can boost local production and create employment opportunities for Ghanaian youth.
The cedi has been ranked the world's best performing currency in April 2025, appreciating nearly 16% against the US dollar and gaining against other major currencies like the British pound and euro. The surge is expected to bring relief to the economy, help curb inflation and boost consumer confidence. The cedi's stability has given businesses predictability and room to plan. However, finance expert Dr. Eric Boakye-Adom cautions against using the transit trade is estimated to
Now, the Ghana Shippers Authority is calling for collaboration between all stakeholders within the shipping and haulage industry to address perennial challenges affecting cargo handling and transportation along Ghana's transit routes. Deputy Chief Executive in charge of operations, Prince Henry Ankra, speaking at a sensitization workshop for truck drivers in Tema, said the nation can significantly improve its gains if these challenges are addressed.
Transit trade is estimated to contribute over $34 million annually to Ghana's economy from services associated with the handling and movement of transit cargo, payments of haulage truck operators, freight forwarders, electronic tracking operators, and fuel stations. Despite these benefits, the sector is bedeviled with numerous challenges which threatens the sustainability of these gains.
Ghana's transit trade is beset with myriads of challenges that threaten to erode the gains made over time as the preferred corridor in the sub-region. Transit operators have reported issues such as high charges by service providers, incessant port delays, high haulage costs, numerous checkpoints, deplorable road conditions, lack of rest stops, and other non-tariff barriers.
The Deputy CEO called for stakeholder engagements to find lasting solutions to the challenges.
Government, on its part, has enacted facilitation of transit trade in the Ghana Shippers Authority Act 2024, Act 112, to strengthen the authority's arm in streamlining processes of service providers and stakeholders for the benefit of all players in the industry. Accordingly, Act 1122 empowers the authority to approve charges and shipment conditions of shipping service providers and to ensure compliance. We are confident that this legal framework will further contribute to improving service standards and reducing the cost of doing business at Ghana's ports.
Now, Managing Director of Produce Buying Company, PBC, Cedi, says special audits are to be carried out into activities of the previous managers, resulting in the present challenges of the company. It follows strict instructions by the President John Dramani Mahama to turn around the company's fortunes, which has been dodged with high indebtedness. Speaking to the media, the new Managing Director promised to turn the fortunes around.
We are supposed to ensure that the local industries are well fed before we send any produce out. So, as you are speaking, these three value chain, i.e. cashew,
Moving on, acting CEO of the Three Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andy Osei Okra, has emphasized the importance of streamlining the rubber industry. To this end, the authority has engaged key industry players at its maiden forum aimed at deepening awareness of the authority's new directive on regulation of unprocessed exports in the rubber, cashew, and shea sectors. Dr. Andy said engaging stakeholders is critical to ensuring transparency, protecting the local industry, and supporting value addition within the sector.
Ensure that the local industries are well fed before we send any produce out. So, as you are speaking, these three value chain, i.e. cashew, rubber, and shea, the production levels are low and local industries are suffering. In other countries, there are total bans on them, but we are not banning anything, but then we have to ensure that they have raw materials to work with. So TCDA mandated to do that has brought in a directive that if you have registered, you are in good standing as an exporter of any of these value chain products, i.e. rubber, cashew, and shea, and you need, after doing everything, you need to let us know as an authority that this is what you want to export before we give you the permit.
And that was Acting Chief Executive of the Three Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andy Osei Okra. Meanwhile, some rubber producers are optimistic of a thriving industry under the new administration.
Transit trade is estimated to contribute over $34 million annually to Ghana's economy from services associated with the handling and movement of transit cargo. Payment.
We have a nation to build, and the processors need to feed the factories. We can always look at the export market. So it's our own resolute that will supply the local industries. They can employ more of the youth. For now, TCD, the local companies, we can have a negotiation, though there's an open price at the market. But they say they know, when you buy rubber and you lamp them before you send them to factory, you lose water. And that shortages are all losses. And they are aware. The companies are aware, all the local companies are aware. So we can go for renegotiation so that they can add something extra to the price that we have. We cannot accept the normal market price. That one cannot help. Once we've come to meet, we've come to reorganize, to see ourselves and know that we are a team. So it's very important. Gradually, once a year, we need to do so that we know the challenges and we have the solutions. So we know that no, whatever we are doing, government is part, private sector is part, and all that.
And that was Acting Chief Executive of the Trade Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andy Okra. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Bole UNREST is here for sports. Please stay.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bole UNREST. Now, this coming weekend is the MTN FA Cup happening between Golden Kick and Atram Divisa. That will be the first semi-final of the competition and it will take place at the Takwa TNA Stadium on Saturday. Now, Gordon Atram, who is the head coach of Atram Divisa, says he's ready for the big encounter.
We really planned for it. I realized that the league is not going well for us. So many things have been happening in the league. But in the FA Cup, a lot of things have been managed very well. So I would rather push my energy in the FA Cup. So I planned very well in the technical aspects in coaching and the tactical aspect as well, with the hands of the management group and everyone in the academy, that including the players, that hey, the league is not going well, and we are not just any soccer academy. We are a big one at hand. We must do something different in the league, since it's not going well for this year. At the end, we must write a history. How do we write a history? Everybody was thinking that this year will be our year to qualify, because last year we nearly qualified. So how come this year is not going well? Then what would we have to do? We have to change the meter hand to a different side, which is the FA Cup.
That was Gordon Atram, the head coach of Atram Divisa. Also, Golden Kick's coach, that is Fifi Hansen, has also stated that he is ready to compete against Atram Divisa in the semi-finals of the MTN FA Cup.
So we put it in our head that we have to make sure we play and get to the extreme level for the world to see how good and potential these under game players are. We know Atram is very good, and he has some kind of resilience abilities, like the last game they played against Park. they came back to equalize the goal in the 93rd minute and went ahead to win their penalties. So we are not looking forward to take them into penalty shootout because we know that's their number one strength, and we stand with our boys to make sure they give their best performance so that we can end up the game in the 90 minutes rather than traveling to shootouts. Obviously, we are winning. It will be a surprise for me to move to penalty shootout. Even when we go to penalty shootout, we will definitely win it. So I'll predict 3-1 against Atram Division.
That was Fifi Hansen, the head coach of Golden Kicks. Now, it has been 24 years since that tragic incident, the May night disaster at the Accra Sports Stadium, led to the death of 127 people. Now, recounting the events on that day, the sports minister currently, that is Kofi Adams, has stated that this event should never repeat itself when it comes to football in Ghana.
Gather here today, 24 years on, as indicated by previous speakers. Not because something good happened, but because something that we all describe as dastardly occurred. We admit, and so is it, that up till now, football is a game that is played with a lot of passion. But that in no way should not move this passion to the level of what? Violence. No matter the decisions and no matter the outcomes. That is why it's a game that have rules. And rules must be followed in resolving every issue. In recent times, like the president of the GFA alluded to,
that was Kofi Adams, the Minister for Sport and Recreation. Now, to some news from Europe, Bayer Leverkusen have officially announced that head coach Xabi Alonso will be leaving the club at the end of the campaign. Now, Xabi Alonso led the club to an undefeated season in the Bundesliga last season, where they went on to win that elusive Bundesliga title. Now, here are Xabi Alonso's numbers at Bayer Leverkusen. He's managed for 138 matches, 89 wins, 31 draws, 18 losses, 3 titles, 64.49 win percentage. So he is one manager that has performed quite well for Bayer Leverkusen. Now, German journalist Bjorn Nass has stated that Alonso's departure would affect Bayer Leverkusen negatively.
On the one hand, it's a big blow because Xabi Alonso brought a lot of new mentality to the club. We were always the runners-up of the league, the all-time second. And with him, there's a winner mentality was brought to the club. And so you saw totally change in the mindset, not only on players, also on the staff and everybody around. But on the other hand, it's not such a big blow because we thought last year he will go at the end of the season, and he stayed one more year. So I think the club's prepared for that, and I'm looking forward for then the new manager.
That was Bjorn there on Xabi Alonso leaving Bayern Munich. Now, the manager has been linked constantly to Real Madrid, who ending their season possibly without a trophy. Now, Xabi Alonso has been constantly linked to Real Madrid to replace Carlo Ancelotti. Now, Bjorn believes that Xabi Alonso might be making the right decision or not by joining Real Madrid.
So I think he's smart, and if he thinks he can do Real Madrid and feels it here and not with his heart, then I think maybe he will be right and I will be wrong. And I also was wrong when he came to Leverkusen because I was not convinced to take a young coach like him, and I was not convinced that this is the right move. But at the end, he was right to do it. So the people in Leverkusen were right to take him and trust him. And so the word in Xabi, we trust, was mentioned not just once last year by the Leverkusen supporters.
That was Bjorn Nass, a journalist from Germany, speaking exclusively to 3 Sports. Now, before we do go, some news from the World Relays Championships. Now, Ghana has a 5-member team to compete in the 4x100 meter relays for a place in the World Athletics Championships. Now, here is the lineup for Team Ghana. Barnabas Ageh, Joseph Polamwa, Mustafa Bokpin, Ibrahim Fuseni, and Sean Safu entry. No Benjamin Azamati and no other athletes will be competing, like Isaac Botiu as well, who was part of Team Ghana for the Olympic Games in 2024. But Ghana's race is set. They will be competing on Saturday evening at 8:25 p.m. And in Heat 1, that is where they will be. If they manage to finish in the top 2, they will automatically qualify to the World Athletics Championships. But they'll be competing against these countries: Korea, Colombia, Great Britain, France, and Poland. Currently, Ghana's national record is 38.07 seconds. That of Korea is 38.68 seconds. Colombia is 38.48 seconds. Great Britain have a better national record, 37.36. France also have a better national record, 37.79. And Poland have a lower national record of 38.15. And so Ghana do have some tough competition, especially with Great Britain and France. Bringing an end to sports here on Sunrise, on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Bill Ishen. And, of course, we have a lot more with you, with Alfred and the rest of the team. Do stay.
My mom means everything to me.
She's always been there for me.
Welcome back. Acting CEO, the Tree Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andy Oselkra, has emphasized the importance of streamlining the rubber industry. To this end, the authority has engaged key industry players as its maiden forum aimed at deepening awareness of the authority's new directive on regulation of unprocessed exports in the rubber, cashew, and shea sector. Dr. Andy Okra said engaging stakeholders is critical to ensuring transparency, protecting the local industry, and supporting value addition within the sector.
We are supposed to ensure that the local industries are well fed before we send any produce out. So, as you are speaking, these three value chain, i.e. cashew, rubber, and shea, the production levels are low, and local industries are suffering. In other countries, there are total bans on them, but we are not banning anything, but then we have to ensure that they have raw materials to work with. So TCDA mandated to do that has brought in a directive that if you have registered, you are in good standing as an exporter of any of these value chain products, i.e. rubber, cashew, and shea, and you need, after doing everything, you need to let us know as an authority that this is what you want to export before we give you the permit.
That's Andy Ose Okra there. He is acting CEO of the Tree Crops Development Authority. On behalf of the team, thank you for staying with us here on Hot Edition. We're back again on Monday, but join us at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight, and tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for The Key Point. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Enjoy the drive as it continues with Trigmatic and DJ Faculty.